This is Jim Campbell, professor of percussion at the University of Kentucky. The first thing that I remember as far as cymbal sounds that helped shape my concept of sound production was in high school when I went and heard the Chicago Symphony Orchestra for the first time. I grew up in the northwest suburbs of Chicago, and I remember hearing Ravel's orchestration of Mussorgsky's Pictures in an Exhibition. And in particular, just a variety of cymbal sounds. I never knew that you could get that many colors from a cymbal. And just that fantastic section of Al Payson and Gordon Peters and Sam Denov in particular, that was a cymbal specialist, helped create some great inspiration for me on defining my cymbal concepts. So what I initially heard from the cymbal section of the Chicago Symphony when I heard Pictures for the first time was a variety of timbres. You had the cymbals playing with real small sounds in the Ballet of the Unhatched Chicks, and maybe a dramatic sound with Baba Yaga, and finally Great Gates of Kiev, a majestic sound. And what impressed me was that the orchestra cymbal player had just a great blend and a good complement to the rest of the orchestra, especially the powerful brass section that really helped define and shape the Chicago Symphony's sound concept.
But the recordings we made in Chicago with Reiner, with Giulini, with Schulte, they were really great recordings, wonderful experiences, and even a piece like Pictures at an Exhibition, we must have recorded it at least 3 times with Reiner, Schulte, Ozawa, Levine. You know, I can't even remember how many times we recorded it. But those pieces they become so familiar. It's like taking a walk around your house. You know it really well.
Right. Jim mentioned the crashes at the end and how wonderful those were. And then you mentioned the Spanish composers. What were some of the pieces that you liked?
Well, the funny thing, I love the Spanish music written by Ravel, who's a Frenchman, but he wrote some wonderful Spanish pieces, and they all had wonderful cymbal parts. So they were always a lot of fun.
Yeah, like which ones in particular?
Oh, well, we have to name a few. I loved La Valse.
La Valse.
La Valse is noble and sentimental.
Right.
And the Spanish Rhapsody.
Yeah.
There were just so many of
those. Beautiful cymbal parts, right?
All really wonderful experiences for cymbals.
Yeah, and Jim mentioned some of the different sounds that you made, and I thought it was very interesting when I brought it up to you. I said, tell me about some of the different sounds you made, and what did you say? I mean,
I never had any special sounds. I just did everything intuitively. What I thought sounded appropriate for whatever piece I was playing, and I've never run into a conductor that was unhappy with anything I did, so I guess I did all right.
I think so. It's interesting because I think some percussionists nowadays, we tend to overthink things.
Yeah, they've got certain techniques and things that they have to play certain pieces with. I just do it as it comes, whatever feels right to me at the moment. It may not always be the same, but it's always, what I think is appropriate and good for a particular time.
So it's something that you felt, that you just felt it in your musical heart.
Right.
Yeah.
Later on, I attended college at Northern Illinois University in DeKalb. And we had the good fortune to have the Chicago Symphony actually in residence on the university campus. And we had some master classes with Gordon Peters and Al Payson and Sam Denov, and so that was my first exposure to actually hands-on playing with the cymbals and hearing their great sounds in person.
Jim also mentioned going to a class that you presented at his school. Tell me a little bit about your education. Did you go out and do clinics and classes for students?
Well, I used to do these master classes, you might call them, and I just introduce basic precepts of cymbal playing. How to hold them, how to stand, how to control cymbals, how you have to get them in motion, how you have to stand to be balanced, and so it was just basic. But I compared the motion somehow to a golf swing. When you take a golf stroke, you bring the club head fast, and you accelerate as you go down to hit the ball. It's the same way when you bring the two cymbals together. Yeah. To me, playing cymbals, of course, which don't play themselves, you've got to set them in motion somehow. And so things that move are all guided by Sir Isaac Newton's laws of motion. And if we study those and apply them to playing cymbals, we get the best sound out of them. Because after all, when you play a pair of cymbals and you bring those cymbals together, they're not only hitting each other, but they're also getting hit by the other. So there's two actions going on. They're hitting another and they're being hit. So, but you have to accelerate. You know, people try to make cymbal clashes like this, or, you know, they hunch up their shoulders or stand on their toes, whatever. But it's got to be motion, because that's the only way you can get enough acceleration so that when you bring them together, you really create something.
Later on, I was fortunate enough to study privately with Jim Lane from Chicago Symphony, and then James Ross, who followed Jim in the section. And they gave me some personalized instruction. But I also, well, I think one of the other pivotal things that happened to me is I spent a lot of time down at Frank's Drum Shop in Chicago on the weekends, and looked for new music and method books, and I ran across Sam Denov's book, The Art of Playing the Cymbals, and that really, I think, maybe gave me some more specific things I could do to improve my sound on cymbals.
So we put together this book. It wasn't a big book, but it was some of the basic fundamentals of getting started in playing cymbals in a concert setting. And that was important because there wasn't anything available at the time.